Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Ryszard Lewicki, highly accomplished amateur, and now looking at the professional side of the game. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy? I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Repping Kelbrook on the top, I can see there. He'll be delighted with that when he watches this.
Yeah, I hope he does. I mean, it's just a souvenir, to be honest.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't ruin it. He's happy. Um, so originally got the idea to do this interview from Kevin Murray, who you're signed with now. Great guy, been around boxing for a long time, good friend of mine. And he's very high on you. He talks very highly about you and what you've accomplished so far. But a lot of people out there won't know your backstory at all. So let's start from the very beginning. You were born in Poland, right?
Yeah, that's right. I was born in Poland.
And when did you come to the UK and why? Why did your family come to the UK?
Okay, so that was more down to my parents, really. I was obviously just a little boy, but we moved down to Sheffield. That's where I sort of like started my boxing career, and I spent a long time there at the Sheffield gym, and then years on, obviously moved up here, and now I decided to turn professional.
And you were how old when you came over?
Uh, about 8, 9.
That must have
So
been.
just No, sorry. I was going to say, so just before the age of actually starting to box, I started when I was about 10.
And that must have been quite tough, not the boxing side, but going to a new school in a new country, getting used to living in a new area. Probably didn't speak the language very well at the time.
Yeah, it's strange, really strange, to be honest. Obviously, you miss all your friends and stuff like that. But obviously now, after all these years, I finished my school's degrees, everything. It was the best thing I could have done. Best thing that happened to me is moving here.
Yeah, well, you can tell you've got the Yorkshire accent pretty much there now as well. Are you a bit
Yeah.
sad to be losing some of the Eastern European and becoming a full-bred Yorkshireman, or are you quite happy about it?
Oh no, I'm proud and happy. I've spent my whole life here. I've worked, I've done all my schools and everything. So yeah, I'm buzzing. Don't get me wrong, I'm proud of my heritage as well. I am Polish by birth, but I've lived all my life in Britain, and that's why I'm a British fighter.
And you're a four-time national champion in Poland, but I believe there were opportunities to potentially link up with a GB setup in the past as well. Just talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so like I say, I kind of spent my entire career almost in Britain, boxing on the British scenes. So I boxed out of Sheffield. And I've been on GB camps, and GB sort of invited me over for their assessments ever since I was about 14, all the way through to 20. So 6, 7 years of them. And it was almost as though every single one I'd go to, give it my everything. A lot of the times I'd felt like I was by far the strongest competition there. And every single time I'd get a letter saying, competition was too good. Sorry, try again. And that would be year after year after year. And obviously, me being the fighter that I am, I just carried on trying every single year. And it was only when I was 20 that I realized, or I've been told, essentially, it's because I've got a Polish passport. So with the Olympics sort of being so close, I didn't have the time to quickly then go and apply for the passport, get a passport, establish myself on the GB scene. So obviously, I went to Boxing Poland. Got thrown in straight in the ABAs, and it's kind of, the system over there is a little bit different. So the ABAs are done in 1 week, so you don't mess around for 2 months. You just get in, 5 fights, 5 days, done. And luckily for me, I had the top 4 middleweights in Poland in my sort of side of the draw. So yeah, it was great. Like, that was my first title. Quickly established myself as sort of like the number one. But you know how boxing is, you can never just win once and then that's enough. You have to do it over. So yeah, I just carried on sort of competing, won a few international gold medals. And then, yeah, the Olympic qualifiers in London, eventually managed to sort of really establish myself as the number one. I was successful all the way through, and then they kind of got pulled off because of COVID. Which obviously is a massive shame, but everything happens for a reason. So we then sort of like rested for the first time, which was much needed. and made a decision to move up to Middlesbrough, move up north, and turn professional. And that's sort of what we're following right now.
How close were you to qualification at the point when the tournament was called off?
The tournament just started.
Oh, right, so you hadn't fought?
Yeah. Literally, the tournament had just started. It was 2 or 3 days in. It stopped. And then obviously the amateur scene kind of just disappeared. And still disappeared, I suppose, in a way.
And you mentioned about the British passport not being able to get it in time to represent GB for the Olympic qualifiers and so on. Had you never considered getting a British passport? I suppose there was never a reason to before.
Do you know, it's one of those things, until you need it, you don't really think about it. It's a piece of paper. as far as I always looked at it, it was just a piece of paper. I live in Britain, I'm British. I've lived here, 14 years? So majority of my life. And when I came over, obviously I was a young boy, so I don't remember most of those years. It was just a piece of paper and I never really needed it until then.
And you've been in the ABAs, obviously, at a higher level a few times as well. Semi-final defeats seem to be your particular nemesis, at least in a few of the years. I think you lost to Ben Whittaker, who's obviously on the GB squad now.
Yeah.
And who's the other one? Oh, Troy Williamson, who's an unbeaten pro.
My stablemate now.
Yeah, now your stablemate. What do you think was stopping you back then? Because you've improved since from getting into that final, from making that last kind of jump.
Yeah, I was too young, too small. I was always ambitious, obviously, and when I was 18, I was nowhere near middleweight. I was probably about 71 kilo, skinny little kid, but I didn't believe in making weight. I trained hard, I believed in my ability, and I kind of believed that would take me the full way. Obviously, the realistic thing, when I boxed my first year, for example, I won 5. And then in my 6th fight in the semi-finals, I fought Troy. And it was good. It was a good fight. But he was the strong, established middleweight. He was 24, so I think 6 years older than me. A full-blown middleweight. And I wasn't. I was just this little skinny kid. So I kind of didn't hit my success until essentially I decided to move abroad, fight internationally, and I kind of got my manlyhood then, and then established myself as a middleweight. So it's all different now. I'm not a skinny little kid anymore.
And you've got a university degree as well. Did you take time out from boxing while you were studying for that?
No, I've never took a break. So in 14 years that I've trained, like I say, we've tapered. We've never took time off. To be honest with you, we've always sort of just like slowed things down, worked on technique. And to be honest with you, when I was younger, I had a lot of that to work on. A lot of improvements needed to be made. So COVID, to be honest with you, was the first break I'd ever had. And at the time, obviously not ideal, but it's probably come as a blessing a little bit. My shoulders, knees, everything. It's healed right up. So it's done me good.
And just tell us why, because the Olympics they're still looking to reschedule them for next year. The qualifiers will eventually happen. Why did you decide now was the right time to leave the amateur scene behind?
To be honest with you, it was long overdue. I was always keen to sort of build up as much of a I don't know how to say it, a pedigree, say it like that, yeah. Build up as good of a pedigree as I could, have as many fights as I can, fight everybody, establish myself really before turning professional. Obviously, that's where it really counts. And my dream has always been the professional world. So naturally, my style and everything was kind of more for the professional scene. But obviously, I've made as many adjustments as I could have in the amateur scene to suit the 3 rounds. And now I suppose I can sort of go back to my true self and settle down again into the longer rounds.
Who do you look up to boxing wise? Who are your kind of boxing role models or idols?
To be honest with you, there's a good handful of boxing role models and stuff like that. But there is 3 fighters, in my opinion, that when they're at their peak, they are what you might call sort of unbeatable. You can start off black and white days, Sugar Ray Robinson, when the cameras were bad, but that man was something else. His shots, the way he turned off his feet. Then you got Roy Jones Jr., when he was at his prime, oh my God, absolutely phenomenal. And a showman as well. And then nowadays, Lomachenko, I look up to him. He's a perfectionist. Every little percentage put together makes a whole, and he's grasped it more than anybody I know.
Well, it's a good pick considering he's fighting this weekend. It'll tally in nicely with this timing of this video.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about your training setup now. You're up in Middlesbrough. Like, who's going to be your head trainer in the corner, and who are you've already mentioned one of your stable mates, but who are your stable mates that you're going to be working with, doing sparring with?
Yeah, so obviously, originally I decided to move up here. My coach is Craig Carney, an amazing guy. I mean, he knows his stuff. Like, he's a proper Mr. Miyagi of boxing. He knows his guide. Saying that, he also knows how to put us through our paces. So last week was probably the toughest week, and we kind of, luckily, we decided, I would say about 5-6 weeks ago, we decided to do a training camp just to see where we could get to. We obviously didn't have a boxing manager. Nothing was yet on paper, but we just wanted to see what I would look like fully fit. And then we started training. And then I sort of got in contact with, I went down and sparred with Mark Efron. And he spoke really highly of me. So then I kind of got in contact with Kevin Murray. And to be honest with you, at the time I had really good communication sort of talks with MTK. And if I'm totally honest with you, it's the best thing I've done in terms of the professional career, going with Kevin. The way he handles business, the way he speaks, I'm an amazing guy. So yeah, that's kind of how it set off. And then, my stable mates, at the moment, there's only me and Troy that are professional, but the gym is full of talent. I mean, there's so many young lads there. I'd like to say, like like Craig thinks I'm taking it easy on the lads, and really I'm not. They're like 17, 18-year-olds full of talent. And when you've got them jumping in and out, they're fresh, and you're sort of doing things with them, you get the versatility of boxing from A to Z, the full thing.
When do you expect to turn pro? Will it be before the end of the year? And not for your first fight, but when you're eventually competing for championships, what weight do you see yourself at?
So we have actually got some coming up, quite big news. I don't know if I'm
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's coming up soon, we can obviously not put the video out until it's been announced. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some big news in terms of the professional debut and sort of the promotional side of things. But what weights? I'm not sure yet. Probably super welter or middleweight. That's probably where I'll be.
Okay, and so this big news, because you've intrigued me now, so I'm obviously going to pursue it a little bit. But when roughly will the pro debut be? We'll see if we can do it by process of elimination.
Okay, next month is sort of the date we have in mind. End of next month.
End of next month. So
how much stay until it's released?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of shows towards the end of next month. One with Matchroom and one with Frank Warren. So it's going to be likely one of the two. It's a 50-50 chance. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, well, you can't say too much about that, although I'm sure we'll find out in due course. And you said middleweight or super welter. Is that just a case of kind of getting through a full training camp and see where the weight ends up?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've always been a middleweight. Like since I turned 18, even though I physically wasn't at the start. Obviously, I was too skinny for the weight. I was too light, but I'd always pursued being a middleweight. But as you know, in the amateurs, you fight on the day of your weigh-in, so there's no sort of fluctuation in weight. What you are is what you fight at. And obviously, I had quite good strategies of making that weight. I've never fluctuated. I always live my life in between camps, so my weight doesn't shoot up, doesn't go back down. So at the moment, it's kind of looking like I'm a middleweight right now, but I haven't tried making any weight yet. So I've got a great great nutritionist, Ben, Blueberry Nutrition. First time, to be honest with you, working with a proper nutritionist. So we'll definitely be making that work. And super middleweight, super welterweight, it could be a realistic sort of target for us.
Just thinking about it, that Frank Warren show that's at the end of November is going to be headlined, we believe, by the Denzel Bentley Mark Heffron rematch. So it'd be quite convenient for Kevin if you were on that show, just hypothetically, given that he manages you and he works with Mark.
I'm hypothetically going to say, but it's around that date.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Kevin said you were very articulate and he wasn't lying, which is good. Well, he never lies anyway, as far as I know. Best of luck whenever the debut may be, next month, but whenever specifically it may be. And we'll be watching with interest. It'll be great to see.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, actually, before I let you go, just tell people out there how they can find you on social media.
Okay, so it's a really tough name to spell.
Spell it for people if they need to. It'll come up on the screen anyway, but
Be in the title. Yeah, if you search my name on any social medias, Instagram, Facebook, I'm there. You can follow sort of my journey. I always upload things. I keep it nice and busy. You can see me train. You can see me, sparring world champions, sort of elevating my levels. And I'll keep you guys sort of posted on my career as it goes along. 128 fights, but as a pro, I'm a newbie. So let's start this journey.
Great stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure, and best of luck. And we'll see you on TV very soon.
Thank you. Take care, buddy.
Cheers, Ryszard. Thank you.